Let's talk TikTok and why the US government is trying to ban it. Let's start with what the bill actually says. ByteDance must sell or divest from TikTok within roughly 6 months of the law going into effect, or it will be banned from Apple and Google app stores and be blocked by internet service providers. Basically, there can be no popular social media apps based in countries that the US deems to be enemies.
TikTok is a threat to our national security because it is owned by ByteDance, which does the bidding of the Chinese Communist Party. We know this because ByteDance leadership says so and because Chinese law requires it. This bill therefore forces TikTok to break up with the Chinese Communist Party. It does not apply to American companies. It only applies to companies subject to the control of foreign adversaries defined by Congress.
This is not an attempt to ban TikTok. It's an attempt to make TikTok better. Tic-tac-toe, a winner, a winner.
So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here.
Now, before we go any further, let's clear up two common misconceptions. One, TikTok is not owned or operated by the Chinese government. TikTok is actually based in Singapore, and while its parent company ByteDance is headquartered in China, it is owned by the company's founders, its employees, and most of all, it's owned by global investment firms like BlackRock. Two, the so-called threat posed by TikTok is purely hypothetical. There is absolutely zero evidence that the Chinese government has requested data, let alone that the request was granted. Plus, TikTok's US data is actually stored on Oracle servers in Texas. So, if there's not really a threat, why are they doing this? The short answer, like to many things, is money and power. TikTok is hugely popular. About a third of adults in the US are using it, especially people between 18 and 29, and that's not even looking at the kids. And with that many eyeballs, TikTok is worth a lot of money. And it's not just the possibility of advertising to all those people, it's also all the data that can be compiled and turned into profiles or sold. The big tech companies know this, and that's why they lobby Congress so hard. In 2021 alone, they spent over $70 million on lobbying. If this bill becomes law, either the buyer is going to have a gold mine on their hands, or there's going to be one less competitor. Either way, big tech wins. And it's not just private industry that wants this data. The US government wants it too. American tech firms have a habit of just giving the government any data they want, sometimes even offering it up without request. And while TikTok obeys all of the laws and cooperates with legal requests, they're not in partnership with the government like, say, Meta. But the money alone is not why this is happening. In 2011, the Obama administration announced the pivot to Asia as the US shifted its focus from the war on terror to China as a geopolitical foe as part of a new Cold War. And ever since then, politicians and the corporate media have rarely missed an opportunity to demonize basically anything Chinese.
You said today, as you often say, that you live in Singapore. Of what nation are you a citizen?
Singapore.
Are you a citizen of any other nation?
No, Senator.
Have you ever applied for Chinese citizenship?
Senator, I served my nation in
asking-
Singapore. No, I did not.
Do you have a Singaporean passport?
Yes, and I served my military for two and a half years in Singapore.
Do you have any other? Have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
Senator, I'm Singaporean. No.
Have you ever been associated or affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party?
No, Senator. Again, I'm
Okay.
Singaporean.
Why does this sound so familiar?
Are you now, or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
And China isn't the only foreign power that comes into the equation. The ratio of pro-Palestine versus pro-Israel videos on TikTok has the ruling class shook. And it's true. It turns out genocide is really unpopular with the youth. The author of this bill even went so far as to call TikTok digital fentanyl. And then there's Nikki Haley.
We really do need to ban TikTok once and for all. And let me tell you why. For every 30 minutes that someone watches TikTok, every day they become 17% more anti-Semitic, more pro-Hamas based on doing that.
And Israel and its lobbyists know what kind of damage they've done to their reputation.
But I also want to point out that we have a major generational problem. All the polling I've seen, ADL's polling, ICC's polling, independent polling, suggests this is not a left-right gap, folks. The issue in the United States' support for Israel is not left and right. It is young and old. And the numbers, people who think that Hamas's, massacre was justified is shockingly and terrifyingly high. And so we really have a TikTok problem, a Gen Z problem. We need to put our energy towards this, like fast. Because again, like we've been chasing this left-right divide. It's the wrong game. The real game is the next generation.
But it's not just TikTok where the Palestinian liberation movement is popular. The Washington Post found that on Meta's platforms, pro-Palestinian hashtags vastly outnumber pro-Israeli ones. So, besides what we've already talked about, why single out TikTok? Well, like in cooperation with US law enforcement, TikTok doesn't regularly play along with US foreign policy like Meta and Twitter. And why would US tech firms align themselves so closely with US foreign policy? Well, let's take a look at who owns these companies. For Twitter, or X, we don't know for sure because Musk took it private, but with Meta and Alphabet, aka Facebook and Google, you'll see the company founders along with Vanguard, BlackRock, and the other usual big finance companies. Funny enough, if you look at the top stock owners of the two biggest weapons manufacturers, you'll again see BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, etc. And Israel's massacre in Gaza has been great for business. It's also been great for the politicians who own stock in the weapons industry because every time they send weapons, they basically give themselves a raise. Reagan's Secretary of State famously said, "Israel is the largest American aircraft carrier in the world that cannot be sunk, does not carry even one American soldier, and is located in a critical region for American national security."
We're also going to discuss the ironclad commitment, and this is, I'll say this 5,000 times in my career, the ironclad commitment the United States has to Israel based on our principles, our ideas, our values. They're the same values. And I've often said, Mr. President, if there were not an Israel, we'd have to invent one.
It is the best $3 billion investment we make. Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interest in the region. The United States would have to go out and invent an Israel.
So why is the government trying to ban TikTok? Basically because American capital and American imperialism demand it.